Fabienne, in your experience, what's the most overlooked aspect of interior design that can make or break a property's value?
A lot of it when it comes to design is unconscious. So often you don't really know why you feel in a certain way, but you do. You can't pinpoint exactly what it is. It's just this overall feel. And I think for me, the key ingredients in creating a space that attracts is the harmony, is how you bring everything together. So something that is massively overlooked in my eyes is this idea of bringing that every items that comes into, and you're talking furniture, and you're talking ornament, you're talking curtains, you're talking everything, there's got to be a link, there's got to be a reason why you choose them. And it can be a pattern, it can be a color shade that fits with the paint, but there needs to be a link, because this is what creates the cohesion, this is what creates the harmony. And you want to maintain that across the board. It has to be, every room somehow has to be linked to the whole property. So when you come in, it feels together. And this is what, when I talk about being unconscious, this is what makes you feel good, because everything works together. So that is something I think people often, they would pop at the nail, and they need to get some cushions, and there's a bit of yellow on the paint, so they're going to take something that looks a bit like it. They're going to, it's going to be this choice that are loose, where actually it needs to be refined, the colors, and it needs to be locked so that you know exactly the kind of shade you're looking at. And this is how you create harmony and how you attract people.
I mean, I just want to jump inside your head and see how it works, because I
do not,
because I know what I like at the end, and I kind of have an idea, and I like some colors. Well, you work with me enough, but that just the in between bit. So, just out of interest, do you have this vision and then you sort of pull it all together, or how do you work through it in your own head? How does it work for you?
Well, when I had this question a few years ago, and I didn't think there was a process. I thought it was just like, okay, let's just do things. And I started putting, a bit more structure around it. And in fact, something I need to mention is that I also train investors to learn a step-by-step process, because actually I thought a lot of it was just like that, but actually there is a process. And it starts with, the color scheme, which is what, you start with that. Again, it comes from your property. So if you've got red tiles in there, the red somehow will have to be part of that color scheme. The area where you operate, again, the target market, and there you end up with your color scheme. And from there, a lot of the decisions which are linked to the furnishing are going to be taken from. So this is a lot easier, and this is why I teach even, all the metal finishes or the wood finishes. So you lock all these colors, all these tones, so that you reduce the part which can be so overwhelming, which is choosing furnishing. You reduce it because you know exactly what you're after. And this is why I said every item needs to be picked for a reason, and that color scheme is the fundamental reason.
Yeah, I really want to be in your head, because the number of times
you wouldn't sleep well, Iman.
The number of times I've been walking around the shop or online, and it's like, oh, they're out of stock. Especially when I was ordering for the hotel, like 15 at a time. They obviously, and it was like, oh no, what am I going to do? What would Fabienne do? I have no idea. I have literally no idea. So yeah, that's hilarious. So have you found sort of any changes as far as technology, AI, that's kind of shaping interior design? Are you seeing influences coming through?
I haven't changed at all the way I work, even with AI. I can see people trying to kind of use that more on the first, I suppose, when it comes to create an initial design, using that to just get more ideas, I suppose. But what I've also found is that it tends to overwhelm people, because between having a nice image of, a room on a certain style and making it happen, there's a big gap. And also, how does that translate in the other room? Where do you start from? So I think I'm sure it will improve over time, but at the moment, I think it's more like as an inspiration rather than an actual kind of tool to create design at this stage anyway.
Yeah, interesting. And also, I think, well, for me, when I've used bits and pieces, I haven't specifically used it for interior design, but anything around creating pictures or, yeah, everyone, you can just really see them at the moment, can't you? You
Oh
can
God,
really,
yes, yes, yes,
it's
yes,
so
yeah.
they kind of got this sort of tone across them that is very similar. So, and just another one, which is interesting, especially for people doing serviced accommodation. What's your view? Can they take their photos themselves or should they get a professional in?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think you know the answer.
I want
It's
it
fun.
from somebody else.
It's funny because this morning, every now and then I go on Airbnb, and this morning I was looking at Leeds
Mm,
and I was looking at photos there, and I cannot believe that there are so many people who are still not using a professional photographer.
mm,
But I would also say that there's professional photographers and professional photographers. It's
mm,
not the choice of your photographer should not be based on their availability.
mm. Yeah.
And actually, it's also particularly, if you're going to use someone like me to kind of, because you know the value of design and you know how it's going to impact how much you attract people, don't cut corners by trying to save 100 quid on your photographer.
Mm,
There are projects which I haven't put out there on my social media because actually the photos that were taken brought the design I created, it brought it down. And actually,
wow.
I didn't want to have my name associated with that.
Mm,
So since then, I now recommend my clients with certain photographer because it's crazy the impact. So even a professional photographer can ruin a design. So if you take your phone and you're doing photos, just know that you're not going to do justice to, the space. Even if it hasn't been done professionally, designed
mm.
professionally, the angles, the colors, it's not going to be the same. And it's so important. So yeah, it's as important as hiring an interior designer in my eyes.
Yeah, that's really good to hear because I think, and especially at the end of a project, and especially for service accommodation, you do understand, people are wanting getting out, they've invested a lot of money, but it is, I'm totally with you. It is so the number one thing. And then the disappointment when a professional photographer's come around and you're not checking the photos along the way. So that's something that I did very early on, is there's for me, for instance, my first set of essay was very contractor based. And so that's very different, the pictures that you want, than a real sort of leisure guess and all of those things. And I think it's really key. And another one that I find hardly anyone does is they don't put any people in the pictures. And I think that's a shame as well, because inherently, like it's like when you see a restaurant and it's empty compared to a restaurant where there's people in there enjoying it, eating and stuff like that. So yeah, there are lots of different sort of things in there. So
Yeah, and I think just one advice on that is that also when you get exactly on the point you make, when you get a photographer, make sure you also explain the atmosphere you're trying to create. So if it's indeed for leisure, families near the sea again, you want to say, well, look, I need that softness, I need that warmth, rather than, sometimes contractors, it's more, more clean, more, brighter kind of thing. So they need to understand also what you're trying to achieve because the default position of most photographers is this kind of sleek, clean look, which, for the stuff I do personally, I like to bring the softness because for me, it's all about being welcoming, right? So I don't want the white to look crisp, basically.
yeah, exactly. And you're not selling the property, so to speak, like an estate agency, very bland photos. You're really trying to create a
Well, it's the
mood.
atmosphere, it's the
Mm,
experience. And when it comes to service accommodation, that photo again will convey that atmosphere, which is essential, I repeat, to bring the people in. They need to feel, and this is the unconscious bit, they will see a photo and it's just, again, it can't really pinpoint what it is, but it just feels like they want to be there. Or at
yeah,
least they want to see more. And that step of just like clicking on it, this is 50% of the job.
yeah. And how do you help people get the confidence to move forward with somebody like yourself. So for me, it was really a no-brainer because I know my limitations and I know that I just could not create anything around certainly what you create. But there'll be other people who are maybe sitting on the fence and I quite like this and I quite like that. But I've seen that and I've seen it go really badly wrong.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
can
yeah.
they have that kind of mindset? What can they kind of, is it kind of just looking at, for instance, obviously you've mentioned your Facebook groups and things like that and seeing that inspiration and seeing what can be done? How do you sort of broach that?
It's interesting. I mean, there's few things. I mean, the first one is being a property investor, it's all about numbers at the end. And a job I don't do enough is repeating the actual net effect financially, because I do also refresh and I can see, the difference between pre-redesign and, for instance, just the nightly rate, average nightly rate versus once the refresh has been done. And you're talking increase. I mean, the number that comes to mind, it was from 130 a night to 210 a night.
Oh,
Occupancy, like weekends never being booked ever over 2 years of this service accommodation operating. The design was made, all the weekends were booked. So suddenly you start appealing to, families and all that. So it's a number decision. It's a strategic choice, which design still yet is not seen as that, as a strategy, as a marketing tool that actually increase your return. So there's a bit of that just education, I suppose, around interior and the net impact on the baseline. The other thing, which is incredible, and like I have an example just yesterday where
yeah.
I posted something and someone came and put, which I love, they put the image of what they've done. And this person was like, oh yeah, I love color. This is my essay and I love this pop of color. And I look at the photo and it's so, it's just a perfect example of what I would use to say, don't do that. And
Right.
it's, I suppose, the unawareness. And it's hard because some people, it's just when their personal taste kind of come over and they feel that because they like it, they think it's good. And I think it's often the confidence that often property investors, and I'm not going to stereotype that, but they've got so much confidence, which is often what makes them successful, where they think, oh, this is great, and therefore that's it, this is great. Well, actually, if you bring someone who gonna kind of judge a bit and can kind of guide a bit, it's not. So I suppose it's difficult this one, Emma, because some people just think that what they do is good.
Mm.
They have a different filter. Like this person, I still haven't answered to the post because I don't know what to say. Maybe the silence will be the answer.
Yeah, silence is golden, as they say.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, uh, it's just so easy to see the difference in within your Facebook groups, the good and the bad, and it is just so clear. And I love the way
Yeah.
that you do point it out as well in a in the best possible way. And
But it's not, and this
pictures.
is it, it's nothing personal. And the
Mm,
way I've done it was always in a spirit of help, right?
mm,
And in fact, I'm going to go back to this post I mentioned. For people to put stuff out there, I think, it takes a bit of courage to kind of, allow yourself to do that. So it's always about showing in the most caring way how it can be done better, because otherwise, my goodness, design, and especially for property investors, is something which often is a bit alien and they're a bit scared about. So you don't want
mm.
to kind of make it more difficult and point out the mistakes, but more like how this can be improved. And this is why when I created this training, I had so many people who actually knew that they could do an okay job, but they were missing a lot of the steps and the little things, which is often so important to actually make it work together.
Incredible. I love it. Wow, amazing. You are an absolute superstar in your field
Thank you.
and literally make so much difference. You've made a massive, massive difference to myself. And in fact, I need to come back to you because I might need a new carpet color because we can't find it's out
Excellent.
of stock, the one we want. So anyway, that's all fun for you. So now if it's okay with you, I'm going to do a quick a quick fire round.
Okay.
So a few questions and literally just as quick as you can
Okay.
in the responses. So, who has shaped your journey the most so far?
My partner.
Oh, your life
Well,
partner.
this spirit of do what makes you happy. And I think that was yeah, that was essential in me actually daring to make this decision and go with my heart rather than, the theory.
Oh, that is beautiful. Is there one particular book that has influenced your mindset the most?
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Ooh, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Fantastic. Is there a type of property that you like working on the most?
No, what I like is brief that kind of push a bit the norm that I like. And in fact, I've done this property, which was a peacock property, which was amazing, and he performed so incredibly well. He became out of a portfolio of 20 the best performing one, even if it was for contractors, and it's totally girly and mental, but actually it worked.
Wow, gosh, we'll have to have a look at that one. And do you have a non-negotiable thing that you do in a morning routine?
Other than brushing my teeth, I would say sitting down for 5 minutes and getting my thought together. And oh, there we go. This is it. Writing down. I'm still a bit of a dinosaur, eh? Writing down everything so I don't have to go back and go back and go back to it.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, well, that's been absolutely fabulous, Fabienne. You really are incredible. So,
Thank you so
for
much for
people,
having me, Emma.
no problem. So, for people who want to obviously get your help, whether it's to actually design a whole, let's say, serviced accommodation unit or perhaps an HMO, or if they wanted to come and actually learn from you, so perhaps they understand how to implement it themselves, let me know how can they come and find you, and obviously we'll pop this into the show
Oh,
notes as
thank you.
well.
Well, Fabienne Interiors. So I'm a lot on Facebook. It's kind of my office, so you find me there. Oh, I've got a website which I'm redoing at the moment, but that's the best way to get me. So Fabienne Interiors. And yeah, you've got loads of information in there, but always happy, what I would say is, especially if you're not sure, is having a chat just to understand how I can help, how much it costs, because actually people have a bit of a view of these things, and actually when we start talking, it's not so overwhelming does it that it feels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can categorically say you make it so simple. And what is very complex, if you imagine that 16 studio apartments, I mean, that was so overwhelming. But you enabled me, and I do love a spreadsheet though. You enabled me to create and actually going shopping. I mean, I'm talking, I can't remember, I think it was about 15 IKEA trolleys and obviously other shops as well. But you made the whole process as simple as it possibly could have been. And actually, yeah, I look back with fond memories,
Oh,
not terrible
that's lovely. And
memories.
this is my job, and I think this is where I'm lucky that I had the chance to be project manager before, because
Mm,
I think it can become very messy if you don't have a structure behind. I can see that.
amazing. Well, thank you so much, Fabienne.
Pleasure.
Wow, what an incredible interview with Fabienne that was. And I think my biggest takeaway, and for me, is how she removes that overwhelm, that having that additional element of ensuring this interior design, everything fits together, everything comes together. The way Fabienne comes in and pulls it all together and gives you such a concrete, simple, easy plan, even where to go and shop, even the exact cushions. It completely reduces that overwhelm, and that really is so huge. So do remember, property success isn't just about what you do, it's also about how you think. When you combine a strong strategy with an unstoppable mindset, there is no limits to what you can achieve. So do reflect on the interview episode today with Fabienne and consider, well, what is one action that you can take this week to get you closer to your property goal. And of course, as always, and in the reflection of giving back, if you know anyone struggling in their property journey, do share this episode. It could be that game changer that they need. And remember, the more people we help, and we discussed that a lot today, the greater our own wealth, in fact, in every sense of the word. So growing this community means growing the potential we all have to succeed together. And do remember, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.